All right. Well, welcome everybody to another speaker interview for ng-conf. Today we have with us Lara Newsome. Lara, how you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. Awesome. I noticed you got a friend there in the background,
I do. It's my friend Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones.
He came to live with us on my oldest child's 13th birthday, and so
Wow.
he's lived in my office ever since because we have a small 50s house, and this is where we can store him. I mean, this is where he likes to sit.
So that strikes me as a name similar to, from Lion King, Scar. Like, was that, what did he do before he got the scar? He wasn't born with the scar. So
Right,
Mr. Bones had a very weird name when he was alive.
right. It was Simon.
Oh, it was, he did have a different name.
He
He
did,
switched.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Simon Bones. Actually, it's weird.
Simon Bones.
Now
Oh,
he prefers to go by Mr. Bones.
right. Call me Simon. The other name, Mr. Bones, will make a lot more sense in a few years.
Right.
All right. Well, let's get into some questions here about Lara. So, Lara, tell us, how'd you get into programming?
Well, I took the longest, most convoluted route into programming that I could find. And so I started life as a botany student, moved on to be a painting major, went to grad school, got a fine arts degree, started doing graphic design with my aunt, which is actually sort of the art school graphic design part is sort of where I got into HTML and CSS because I sort of had this realization that no one was actually going to pay me to paint that much for the rest of my life. And also, I was not a trust fund baby. So I was like, oh, I need a backup plan. And so, digital stuff, that's in air quotes, was my backup plan. And so I learned the Macromedia products and the Adobe products. So, like, I'm very good at like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. I'm learning Premiere, After Effects, like all that stuff is still kind of part of who I am. But through Dreamweaver is actually how I started writing HTML and
Ooh.
CSS. And then I just sort of kept that up because, like JavaScript had technically been born, but was still a tiny baby that nobody trusted. And I didn't know like ASP or, any of the like older languages. I'd done a little bit of basic when I was in elementary school and like middle school. But then I kind of decided computers were not cool for a while because I was an idiot. And then I really got an opportunity from a friend of mine, about 7, almost 8 years ago. He needed somebody to come write actual like backend software for him and was having a really hard time finding somebody to do that because they didn't have a huge budget. It was a lone developer position, remote. I was going to work remote. I was going to be the only dev on the team. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And so me and Google hung out a lot. I got a lot of Stack Overflow advice, started going to conferences, started reading blogs, started listening to podcasts, and that's how it happened. It was basically like you've got 6 months to sink or swim, and I started swimming. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Next question. Besides JavaScript, what other languages do you know?
I know C#. I know really like C# and Java. I don't enjoy Java, but I did a lot of C#. Oh, wait, I also know Visual Basic.
Right.
So that's really handy.
Awesome.
Also, don't ever tell anyone I know Visual Basic because otherwise they're like, "Oh, you know Visual Basic? Come here, read this for me. Tell me what it's doing." So yeah, that's my background was really in C# and .NET. So I learned Visual
Very
Basic
cool.
first, but actually learned C# because I had all the answers were in C# and then I had to translate them to Visual Basic. So I kind of learned them all at the same time.
Cool. All right. Pick a favorite technology that is pretty much no longer in use?
Um, Director, Macromedia Director.
Oh, wow. Macromedia Director.
It really appealed
I'm
to
not
the.
familiar with that.
So it was like sort of adjacent to Flash. But you could it had the ability to interact with like through like basic stamps, you could make your computer interact with the real world. So it was like IoT before that was a thing. But I just sort of loved that moment in time because it was like anything was possible, and it was like it kind of made me think about it really tied sort of like video and like app like you could write some like scripts in it and stuff. So like, I don't know, it was interesting, and it helped me get into Flash. So I had a really great career as a Flash web developer for a couple years before they were like, this is dumb, we can't search anything on here.
Right. Okay. Next question. What's your favorite part about Angular?
I've thought about this a lot, because I see people always asking that, and I'd say I really like the dependency injection. I worked in React for a while, sort of, I was doing consulting work, so you flip from Angular to React to Angular to React to .NET to whatever, and I would go to React and I'd be so mad that I couldn't just get a hold of a single instance of the service. You'd have to new it up, or, and it just made it harder. And so I really like the dependency injection in Angular. I'd say a real close second is just the way that Angular does like dirty checking and change detection. I just think it's really interesting how it works. And so, yeah.
Very cool. All right, so let's talk about your talk. What are you going to speak on at ng-conf this year?
I am going to speak about, I'm doing one of my favorite genres of talks, which is the code smells, because I got advice very early on in my career going to conferences. Like I went, like after I'd been a developer for 6 months, I go to a conference and like literally everything is over my head. Like I almost don't even know what the talk titles are about. And so I would just go and like Google stuff. But the best advice I got was always go to the code smell talks. And that was because most of the time they were just showing examples of my code and telling me what not to do anymore. Mm-hmm. And so it was a really like, it's basically just developers telling on themselves, and it's sort of talking about, hey, yeah, you can do it this way, but this is what might happen if you do that. And so I think it's really important. I think it's really easy. Code smells exist for a reason. It's just like anti-patterns, you fall into them because they work and they're sort of a logical answer, but there's usually some sort of gotcha to it or some price you're going to pay later. And so I think it's really important to give that information out to the community. And I haven't seen a lot of code smell talks. And I know that like the team I'm on, we've gone through a lot of that, just going through best practices. I think it's a really good way to sort of level up your coding skills, to be sort of keep these things in the back of your head while you're writing code, so that not only are you working better together as a team, but also you're just writing more maintainable code. So
yeah, and it's one of those code smells, one of those topics that it's timeless and eternal. You leave Angular, you're still going to benefit from code smells. Even if you talk, I don't know if you are, but even if you talk about very Angular specific code smells, you'll see how those same patterns show up in other technologies and frameworks. So cool.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, same.
All right. Well, last question. If you weren't a programmer, what would you be?
Well, that's like, do computers exist at all?
Let's say yeah. Okay, you didn't get transported back into 1300s.
Okay, I'd probably be a graphic designer still. I didn't find it very rewarding because I don't like people telling me what to draw, but or what to design. You get a lot of like over the shoulder design, and it's but it wasn't not rewarding. And I do enjoy graphic design, and I feel like I'm good at it. I know, we're not supposed to say, oh, I'm really good at it, but I'm not bad at it. So right. I'd probably fall back on that. So yeah.
you'd basically just be sitting in the next cubicle over.
yeah, basically. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you know your code is good enough, or how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Of those two, do you have one that you like more than the other?
So I mean, like, imposter syndrome has just plagued me my whole time because I don't have a computer science background. I spent the first 4 years of my career working alone remotely, like literally no other devs on the team. And so when I started actually coding with other people, I was scared to death that they would be like, what are you doing? You're not doing that right. And like, how did you manage to write code at all ever? And so, yeah, that was always a really big one for me just because, and I still feel it like where I'm like, oh my God, they're going to know. They're going to know. But then I also remember that like I've heard, people I really respect, like, like Brian Love admit that like maybe he doesn't know something. And I'm like, see, it's okay that you don't know. Like we literally cannot know everything. I can't keep everything in here. So yeah, I think that's a good one. Um, like if my code is good enough, like I have
Hey, hold
opinions
on.
about that as well.
You
So
just gave the perfect answer to that.
Okay.
So last section of the interview. These are our hot takes, rapid fire questions.
all
So
right.
I'm gonna give you two options. You pick one or the other. No need to really explain. If you want to kind of explain why, that's okay. But the whole point is just to see which one you choose.
Okay.
Here we go. Kirk or Picard?
Picard.
Episode 8 or episode 9?
Are we talking Star Wars here? I think 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruby or Scala?
Ruby.
Okay. Game of Thrones or Squid Game?
Oh, that's kind of tricky. Okay, so I'm gonna say so Game of Thrones probably because I enjoyed the universe a little better and I felt like Squid Games made me feel sort of upset a lot. But also it's unfair because Squid Games doesn't have, we haven't seen their second, like there's only one season. So
Mhm.
if you're like comparing like season 1 to season 1, it would be like Game of Thrones all the way. But then
Mhm.
like Game of Thrones, like, that you've seen that meme where it's like draw a horse and it's like really nice, really nice. And then it's basically like a toddler drew it. And they're like, this is the progression of the Game of Thrones seasons. I sort of agree with it. Like the last season, we had a lot of heated debate about the last season where yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I still probably would pick Game of Thrones.
Okay. Last question. No. Second to last question. Robert Pattinson or Michael Keaton?
Probably Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
A
All right.
vampire thing,
All right. Last question. Mr. Bones or Bones?
Mr. Bones.
Yeah.
He's less complicated. He's just a straightforward guy.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Laura. Really appreciate the time you took. Thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll see you in another speaker interview. And I hope to see you at ng-conf as well. Okay, awesome. Thanks,
Very
Laura.
good.
I'm going to give
Awesome.
them this audio marker.
Okay, so I'm laughing because you're clapping on and clapping off. And
Yeah, clap on, clap off. when I'm doing my Pluralsight courses, because I audio mark every time I say something wrong, and it happens so often I can't get my hands up to clap. So I click with my tongue.
Nice. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because they're making like a sharp, a sharp spike. That's smart.
And I learned that from when I grew up. We lived in a horse property, and we had a horse, and that was how you get the horse to go, is you click at him, and then they pick up his pace. Right.
You're like,
it was
listen,
just
Joe,
second nature to me.
Pick up your pace.
Now it's kind of funny because if I've been recording for a few weeks on a course, and then I might be talking to somebody, if I say something wrong, I'll catch myself wanting to click, I flub a word and be like, wait a second, what am I doing?
Or like Joe has this weird tick he does.
Yeah. If only I could edit real life. That would be so nice.
I know, right? Just be like, nope, wipe that out. Yeah. And then
Nope.
I wouldn't have to lay in bed at 3 a.m. thinking about that thing I said in 3rd grade, Like, no, I edited that out. That never happened.
Oh man.
Very good.
Awesome. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Yeah, same to you.
Okay, see you, Lara.
All right, bye.
Bye.